All right, guys, let's do it. So what we're going to do in this video, we're going to dive deep into what the heck is agility when we're talking about healthcare. So who's out there today? Who's out there? We got OT, PTs, nurses, docs, respiratory therapists. Who's listening? Right in the chat. What do you do in healthcare? You administrator? Who are you? Put it out there. All we hear these days in healthcare is things are changing, things are changing. And so we have some tools, right? So we are here to learn how to build our agility. What is agility, first of all? How do we build it? Why does it matter, right? It matters because let me tell you why. Because we all want to do great and useful things in this world, right? We're here to do something important. We're not here to do useless tasks. We really want to make sure that whatever we're doing, we're helping other people, either today or tomorrow, right? We want to change the status quo. Maybe we're looking at a new treatment, a new way of supporting someone living with a chronic disease. What are you trying to do? I do share insights from neuroscience so people can boost their joy and purpose and in their professional life, including healthcare. So what are we going to do today? We're going to define it. We're going to figure out how to manage it. We're going to figure out why we why we stop, why we're not so agile. We're going to figure out ways to improve our success and how can we have longevity? Sometimes we have those great Mondays, but then by Tuesday we're just out of steam. So how do we keep things going? And what are some action steps, literal strategies that we can use? Let's go. Okay, well, I love this image. We have this young girl playing soccer with someone. I'm going to assume it's a family member, a friend, a relative, or something. And they're both in their pink and just rocking it. And, we're just like light on our feet, right? So we want to be kind of light on our feet. We want to be ready to move with quick, easy grace. Doesn't that sound good? Okay, we want to have resources. We want to have an adaptable character, right? We want to be the kind of person that looks for solutions. So that's what we're doing here. Why? Why does it matter? Well, what's coming down? What do we know about what's changing in healthcare? Many things, right? We're hearing many things that are changing. What are the main things that we're hearing? Well, number one, lots of burnout at all levels. I've recently read, pharmacists have the highest. I'm a neurologist, so neurologists have really high levels. And then we hear about workforce shortages, just not enough, fill in the blank, not enough nurses, not enough docs, not enough residents. And then there's some policy concerns about residents coming into the country. There's just lots of concerns, right? How are people going to pay for their health care? Do they have Medicaid? What's going to change? And then tech and AI integration. Now, some of that is great. Some of that really can decrease your cognitive load because maybe you're using AI in your clinics. If you are, put it in the comments. Yes, using AI. Let me know what company are you using? How do you find it? Is it helpful for you? Is it hard to use? Do you have to edit a bunch? Like, what are you finding with your AI? Are you using it in diagnostics? Are you using it in, looking at what patients are coming in, how they're finding you, processes, systems? Where are you using AI? Yeah, a supply chain, just there's so many options of where we're using AI. There's way more than we're probably even thinking about, and I'm sure it's coming soon. What about health equity gaps? So day to day, when we're face to face with patients and their families, we see folks who are in need of various things, whether it be support, maybe they're lonely, they don't have a lot of family or friends support. Maybe they need better ways to cover their medicines and get to the doctors. So many challenges in our societies. And then system inertia. It's just hard to move. Someone said recently, like I was trying to get this CME meeting off the ground, and someone said it's like docking a cruise ship. It takes a lot, and it takes a lot of skill, and it's slow, and it's intentional, and a lot of people have to be involved. So how can you make your team agile? So all the team leads, put it in the comment. Yes, team lead, just put lead in the comments. If you're running a team in healthcare or any other industry, there's challenges, right? It's hard to manage humans. My son is right now a camp counselor for 40 kids. He's not the only one, thank goodness. But, just managing counselors, managing kids and parents are involved. And, so it's interesting to hear the stories. And I think it's great for him to learn, how to manage children because, over time, I think he can use a lot of those tips and tricks when he gets into business environments. So, what about you? Are you leading a team? Go ahead, put it in the comments. What's your latest challenge with your team? There could be a lot, right? So to, engage in the process, we have to be continuously adapting our innovative endeavors. So that means we're always in the creative zone, but you can't always be changing things. Something has to be solid. Like you have to keep reminding your team of their mission, why they're on the team, of the skills that they bring, and feedback, all that radical candor, right? We don't want to be rigid, but we don't want complete mayhem in our team. So there's a fine balance. There's a sweet spot, as they say. We want our team to get things done. We want them to reduce their cycle times. We want an idea, we want a plan, we want a strategy, we want that MVP, that minimal viable product. Try something, see if it works. If it doesn't work, then go ahead and adjust it or forget it, right? So a lot of the books that we'll talk about, some of them today, when they talk about entrepreneurship or being innovative, you pivot or you persevere. Pivot meaning like, I tried it, I'm not doing it again. Persevere, keep going. Always adjusting and modifying things to make them better for the customer, better for the teams, because of course we want to support our teams in their growth and in their creativity. So we also want a team that responds quickly to our changing customer requirements. I mean, I've been in healthcare 30 years. Our patients did not want the results. They were used to not getting results for sometimes a few months, That's just how it was. It was okay that they waited for an appointment. There was no electronic communication. Obviously, if it was an urgency, we call them right away. But sometimes they didn't get the reports or the one-on-one visit with results for a long time. But that was okay. Now we're used to this EMR, this electronic medical record, and sometimes we get results within, 10 minutes, 15 minutes if it's more than an hour, like what's going on, So the norm has changed of how fast, what customers want and the requirements of customers. We know that ourselves now. We have Amazon, we have so many things, we can get things really quickly. So when we're talking about our team, we want to make sure that we are reinforcing skills, a skill set, and support for our team so they can also remain agile. So some interesting studies. This is a study, Polakos, 2019, a manuscript that was written, and they looked at 325 companies, and they were looking to see if they're agile, if they're resilient. They actually had an outcome they called the Agility Resilience Score. Um, and it was interesting. If the teams in those companies, rated high on agility and resilience, they showed 150% higher return on investment and 500% higher return on equity. So a lot of, capital gains and capital projects that were going well with agile, resilient teams. And so we want to make sure that we're supporting our teams, that they're able, to get things done because this shows us, the companies will do better financially. So there was a direct effect on agility and resilience with the stability of the team. So people left less if they felt that there was agile, they were agile and they were resilient. If they had right-sized teamwork, how many people have been on a team? We say like, oh, I wish I could have a few more people, or too many people and they're tripping over each other and you don't know who's doing what and it's just sloppy. And then that relentless course correction that also helped to increase the agility and resilience. So always that innovative spirit, that entrepreneur, that lean startup mentality where you're always pivoting or persevering. You're adjusting, you're building something and then you're adjusting it. You're trying it and then you're adjusting it if need be. So interestingly, financially, there's a benefit when companies are agile. Anyone surprised? I don't know. Okay, so let's meet Mr. Nadella. If you haven't heard of this gentleman, he is the CEO of Microsoft. Likely you've heard of him. But if not, I respect his ways because he says that he just loves learning. He likes to be a learn-it-all, not a know-it-all, but a learn-it-all. And he really, when he got into the company, he wanted to encourage Microsoft, all the employees to just keep learning, keep growing, building their skill sets, building their understanding. So he's describes himself as very curious and having a thirst for learning, and he wanted to share that with his company. And at the end of this video, we'll also talk about, what were the outcomes of Microsoft since he came on board with this culture change. There we go. So how do we stay agile? Do we just read and read and read? Is that the way? Just piles of books? Anyone love a good Saturday just to read and read? Um, Anyone still read books? Put it in the comment books. Okay. Well, the good thing is agility can be built. It's a skill. It's not a trait, not like a personality trait. It's a skill. So we just have to keep trying and learning about it and growing that skill, which is wonderful. Like these, teens are doing, learning something. And where can we learn this? So we can take some lessons from Dr. Carol Dweck, who wrote the book Mindset, The New Psychology of Success. And really, she suggests, and really, I highly recommend this book. If you haven't read it, then at least listen to her TED Talk. She has a few. But really, I love, one of my favorite experiments, she's done many, is that she did a test. She did a study in a school, and she went and told the teachers that these kids are the gifted students. And by the end of the year, they retested all the kids, and the ones she said were the gifted students were then the gifted students. But at the beginning, they were not. They had very average test results at that time. So just the fact that the students, it actually was just the teachers that knew about it. So the teachers thought that those kids were gifted. So just by the kind of the expectation, they actually got the results that they wanted, was that the kids ended up doing higher level work. So it's very interesting about what we assume is normal or available or possible. So in this book, she really just kind of busts through the myths that the future is unknown and unknowable. We can't know it. We can assume something's going to happen, but we really don't know for sure. So we have to listen to, Dr. Carol Dweck, who's done research in, both, business settings and school settings. It really shows that we can be continuously developed. It will take effort to get better and to build skills. But just remind yourself, your true potential is unknown and unknowable, which is exciting because we may have assumptions about what we're able to do because of what we've done in the past, but that really means nothing when you think of that study with the kids in the school. All right. Okay, your purpose. So I heard a speaker say the other day, you never lost your purpose. You don't have to find your purpose. You have a purpose. So it depends on your belief on this. But a lot of times we have to just kind of sit and think and envision, where could we go? What's important to us? What are our current values? Where do we feel the best when we're in action in a certain area or maybe working towards our current values? I heard a great TED Talk says, like, how do you think about how do you make people feel? So maybe you make people feel empowered, maybe you make them feel hopeful, maybe you make them feel resourceful, maybe you make them feel happy. So his, in this particular TED Talk, and I think I have it at the end of the study, if not, or at the end of the talk, if not, just reach out to me. I'll send it to you. But I love this TED Talk. And so he said he was at a, like a reunion, a college reunion, and there's so many people who are lost and didn't think their life was, their career path was very meaningful. And this gentleman who gave the TED Talk had done a lot of things. He'd worked in theaters and worked in community and nonprofits. He'd done a lot of different things, but he always thought whatever he did, it was helpful in some way. And he saw the meaning behind what he did. So he always knew he had a common purpose in all the different, careers that he had. And so that's how he said, if he's helping people figure out their purpose, is just like, how do you help people feel? So if I hope to help people feel empowered with neuroscience-based strategies so that you can go, just really live fully in your gifts. And I also love to share resources. So that's why I love digging in the research and sharing them and bringing them to you. And so when we're thinking about our purpose and we're thinking about our next steps, we want to design them on purpose with our own purpose in mind, right? And so what is important to you? What is possible? What wows you? What wows your customers? What works now? What's working well or what is not working well? And what if you did it a certain different way Or what if you prioritize different things? So you want to take some time and just ask yourself some questions. So you could get down, into the details of really what design are you after, so you know what your next steps are. So this QR code leads to a document. It's a blog post, and it has, a lot of these resources in it. Um, so a lot of times, we read these books, the lean startup, we want to be lean, lean, lean. And then I heard a futurist at the American College of Healthcare Executives who said, why is healthcare always going smaller? Healthcare needs to go bigger. And he's like, bigger ideas, push out into the community, push out into new areas, stop minimizing what you're thinking, but actually go bigger. So just to counter this lean startup concept, but the lean startup concept is that you build something, you design something to solve a problem, you try it out, and the advice is to make it very small and minimal, and then measure it. Did it work? And then learn from it. Are you going to pivot or persevere? Are you going to keep going, or are you going to throw it out? Was it just a bust? Or is there something from it that you could learn and then you can adjust it and try again? So that is learning, right? So we know the neuroscience sense of learning is trying something and seeing the outcomes, and seeing it a few times, you see the patterns. And so that's what they're referring to here, is just learning, trying things. Okay, let's slow down and take a deep breath. When we try something new, there will be emotions and there will be thoughts. And we can think of them like the weather, that they're just passing by. We can acknowledge them. So first we want to do like what the camera's showing us, is just to see them. We just want to see the thoughts, positive or negative, and the emotions, positive or negative, when we're thinking about a change or in the middle of a change. Then we can just acknowledge them. Oh, there they are. Just like you're seeing a cloud, you're seeing it just rained here, just saw the rain. Now the sun's out and it's coming and going. I should go look for a rainbow. Um, but we also want to make sure that something is leading our actions, like our values. And if you're not sure how to figure out your values, I do that in my my WAG group, I call it. So I coach women doctors. And we figure that out early in our coaching journey, because we have to know what's important to us, and we have to know why we may have emotions towards certain things, because they may be against our values. So that was a big aha for me, as Oprah says, her aha moments. Anger is a secondary emotions, meaning something happened first. So a lot of times something crossed one of your values and then you feel anger. So just reading these books and helping me understand, the paths of emotions, these paths of these thoughts that we think maybe are data, but they're just thoughts. They're not really 100% necessarily based on data. They may be based on beliefs and biases and maybe estimations, but likely they're not always data. So a wonderful book called Emotional Agility by Dr. Susan David. She says, think of it like the weather. It's just passing by, right? And so we could say things like, I notice I feel confused or upset or angry with this change. I'm having the thought that this may not work when I'm thinking about changing this or that. And then the key is just a pause, just notice, you're just seeing those things. Then you take an action, because we don't want to act on the emotion or the thought. We want to just notice it. Just take in the data and see if it's actually data, like accurate data, or if it truly is just, just a thought, it's estimation. Okay. So our goal really is to put a space, that pause in between our thoughts and our emotions and then our actions. Yeah. Now this blew me away. This totally blew me away. So Dr. Susan Anthony, she's a psychologist. She wrote that book called Emotional Agility. Highly, highly recommend it. Or watch her TED Talk if you're busy. So what she was saying is, if you, especially, let's say, we'll say this in the sense of, if you lead a team and your team is resistant to something you are trying to get them ready for, how do you help them move through change? You have to acknowledge these 5 boxes. These are key. Get your notebook out, write these down, take a picture of it. Dr. Susan Anthony, her book is called Emotional Agility. This was like life-changing to me. So let's go over this. So let's say you're a team lead and you want your team to start a new protocol on Monday, but you find they're not really getting the work done. They're not really ready to go. They're saying it's not going to work. So we have to go through these five boxes with our teams. Okay. So what is the loss with the new thing? So let's say you're asking them, that they're not going to work with this old team they used to work with. They're going to work with a new team, and the new team, and what they do in that team is going to be different. So they're going to be working with new people and they're going to have new roles. So what's the loss with that is they are going to be losing some of the people they used to work with. So they're not going to see them as often. They're not going to work on the project they used to work on. So these are just things we have to, as team leads, talk about whenever there's a change, because they're even with a good change, you're really excited, you've been working on it for a year, there is a loss. Like let's say, you're moving to a new building. There's a loss that you're going to leave the old building. And there's things about the old building even drove you crazy, but you still love certain things about that old building. Okay. And then your freedoms. What are your freedoms? How are they different on the new team? Well, maybe the team isn't aware of that. Like they don't know their hours. They don't know who they're reporting to. So they're not sure about their freedoms on when they can come and go and the psychological safety that goes along with change. What's the new mission of the team? Who's going to be on the team? Who's leading the team? What are the new, regulations on the team? What are they able to do or not able to do? Do they have to come in the office all the time? So those are those psychological safety with when there's uncertainty, we don't feel safe. So we want to know all the details before we can move on. And then your status. So if they're moving to a new team, does that team have any clout? Like who do they report to? Is it respected in the institution? And then belonging. If they're all new people on a new team, they won't have that sense of belonging. They were used to seeing certain people on the old team. They were used to somebody brought donuts on Tuesdays, someone brought muffins on Wednesdays. There was a certain belonging. They knew who to talk to. They knew who would have the extra pens. They were just little things, but that's what they knew. So we have to address these five boxes whenever there's a change and in us personally as well. So if we're thinking about a new position, we're thinking of leaving, we're thinking of coming, we're thinking of a new job, whatever it is, any change, we have to acknowledge these things that will be holding us back, like tethering us to the old us. Okay, so this is life changing. And every time you're thinking about maybe, a promotion or what have you, just go through these five boxes and think about it so you can acknowledge these things. Again, we just have to acknowledge them and see them and and realize the thoughts behind them and the emotions, pause, and then we can move on. So again, why do we resist change? Well, these five things again. So loss, so maybe your identity at work. If you get a new promotion or something, you're going to have a new identity and you're going to lose your old one. What about freedom? We're not sure if we're going to have different work activities, different hours, who's going to be there, what are my jobs during the day, what support do I have? And then the safety, what's the mission? Does it mean something to me? What's my new role? What's my new goal? What kind of work am I going to do throughout the day? And then status, are we going to be that newbie again? Are we an expert? Were we an expert? Now we have to get knocked down to newbie again. And belonging on the team. Is the team kind? Are they nice? Do I want to hang out with them all day? How's the boss? All those things. So again, resistance to change is a signal. It's just a signal that there's thoughts or emotions that come along with it. Nothing's wrong. It doesn't mean your team doesn't want to change. It's just all those five things have to be acknowledged, just like that girl's face. You just got to acknowledge it. Okay. And Dr. Susan David, that's her name, Dr. Susan David with her book, Emotional Agility. Susan Anthony is, the flag lady. Okay. Anyway, so she says there's good news about bad moods, which is interesting. So she says things like sadness, anger, fear, guilt, things that we say are bad moods or negative moods. Sometimes they really improve our focus. So when we're mad about something, it might really improve your focus of what's really important to you. It usually heightens our memory if something goes wrong because, it's more, we're sympathetically activated, we're like focused. So think if you thought you sent the email to the wrong person or you thought you missed a deadline, that feeling like, ooh, like you get that rush, like you're sympathetically focused. Like, did I do that? And you'll check your emails or check your calendar. Did I miss something? And that is because you're concerned. That means something to you. But it does also help us pause and be cautious if something's going wrong or we have certain emotions about something. Again, just that pause between the emotions and the thoughts. It also can bust through some confirmation bias so that we all could have many, many biases. One time someone said we have 6,000 biases. I don't know, that's a lot, but there's a lot of different biases. And that is just our brain's way of going through things quickly. The Nobel Prize winner Dan Kahneman said he liked to say we had a thinking one, thinking two. Thinking one was our fast, but not well thought out. Thinking two, a little bit slower. So we can sometimes bust through biases and clarify our values too. So it helps us when we're angry, sad, like what is important to us? What are we willing to spend our time toward? That's important stuff. So Dr. Susan David, her quote states, discomfort is the price of admission to a meaningful life. So no one said it's all going to be easy or it's only going to be good moods. There's also bad moods. But see, right there, there's bias on emotions, that they're bad, good, or positive, negative. They just are. They're like weather. Weather's weather. Okay. So what can we consider is agile change? So agile change is you go with the vision, you know it's important to you because we already talked about that. We know our values, we know what's important to us. We as a team, create the strategy, create the approach, and then, you pivot or persevere, you iterate. How did it go? Did it work? You have a few outcomes to see if it works. So that's agile design because we know we will likely need to change it in some way. Now, what do you see in an agile workplace? Well, you have, this is from a manuscript from Grass 2020, states self-organized teams, quick and proactive decision making, transparency, so they share wins and losses, collaboration, teams working together, regular reflection, that's that pivot or persevere, that pause, customer centricity. Are we meeting the changing needs of the customers? Iterative work approach. So we change things as we try things, we change. Okay. So how can we enhance our ability to be agile? Cognitive flexibility. So if you want to think of your cognition as, let's say, a dinner plate, if a lot of things are on the plate, it's hard to stay flexible. So we want to make sure that we are focusing on what's important to us. We're using what we just talked about, emotional regulation. We're just noticing, we're putting a pause. And then we're also using that validated learning where we're trying, we're assessing, we're iterating. Okay, so we could sit back for a minute and think about like, where do you have to be agile right now? And it's really interesting. If you just change the words a little bit, you might find that it opens a door to your cognitive flexibility. So we may say, in what ways might I transform the team or that protocol or, the team's mission this quarter? Or you could also say, in what ways might I surprisingly change? So surprisingly change lands a little bit differently than just transform, right? So watch the wording that you use, see if it brings up some energy, some enthusiasm toward change, maybe a little surprise, like that would be exciting, right? So we want to watch the emotions that come and flip around the words a little bit, use some different words that maybe you haven't used with your team to see if that gets them just a little bit more cognitively flexible. Why do we need to finalize the project? We all want meaningful work, right? So we want to know our why. What could happen today? What could happen tomorrow? Who could this project serve? Who will be helped? How will it change things? What things are needed to get going? Oh, this is our CME we're giving at Cleveland Clinic. Okay. Growth mindset to organizational growth. Okay, we all met Mr. Nadella earlier. He's the CEO of Microsoft, and he was the learner. So he wanted to change the culture and thereby the capabilities and the concepts in Microsoft. So he got on the scene around here in 2014, and you could see 97% growth by this change. So he told his colleagues, I'm not talking bottom line growth. He was talking about individual growth. He wanted to grow the company. If everyone individually grows in their rules and in their roles and in their lives. So he wanted people just further themselves, keep learning and growing, which is wonderful. And financially, it served the company. So what skills what skills do you need to develop to really deal with the world as it is and even to make it better? And we can develop skills to deal with the world as it is. We are able. All right, so go ahead and put in the comment. Here's some resources, and you could take a picture of that QR code. That has a lot of these resources all in one place and a few of the slides. And put in the comment, your best learning. What did you like the most about this? Are you agile? Is your team agile? Are you looking for ways to be more agile? Um, Other resources, these books I have found really helpful in this area. So I love the book Strategic Doing, 10 Skills for Agile Leadership, The Emotional Agility we talked about by Dr. Susan David, Designed to Grow, Scale and Agility. And this is a Coca-Cola, how the Coca-Cola learned to combine scale and agility, and how you can too. Mindset by Carol Dweck, and then The Lean Startup, Eric Ray's, and then he has two books, and The Startup Way. Okay, loved all of these, super helpful. Again, if you don't have a lot of time, you can always listen to the TED Talk, like just to get at least the Cliff Note version. Okay, some resources, some podcasts that I found helpful when you're talking about agility. Again, they're all in that QR code. All right, you got it. So just, yeah, put in the comments what you like the best, things you want to hear about next. What are your current team challenges? What are your challenges in leading a team? It's not easy out there, but you got this. All right, guys, all the best. Okay.